and here is my sweet cream or sweet corn casserole. Here we go, my chicken and rice with almond. I got 14 little circles out of this. Oh my gosh, that's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And here we are. I didn't think it was gonna pop up that easily, but you can use a smaller bowl. That so good and yummy. Oh my gosh, I gotta get to chopping those onions. And you know what I forgot on my plate? A piece of sausage. Putting this on top. And oh my gosh, these are delicious. Hot, delicious. Isn't that cute? And there, that's the finished one. I wish I had videotaped in there. Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. I've got another craft here for you. I'm going to be making a wreath like I usually do. And this one is going to be a summer beach themed wreath. And so I went to the Dollar Tree and I purchased my supplies from the Dollar Tree, except for my tools, of course, maybe some extra things that I did not get there, but I will show you exactly what I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'll itemize what I spent because I don't remember now. It was 3 weeks or so ago that I bought all these things with the intention of making a different wreath. Then it turned into a beach themed. I think I did I know I did an out and about where I showed you that what I had bought at the Dollar Tree, and I believe this little sign was one of them, and that's been hanging there to kind of inspire me to remind me that I wanted to do a beach themed wreath as well as the one that I did for 4th of July, you know, that type of Americana style wreath that I did a couple of weeks ago. So anyway, let's get going. Let me tell you what not the ingredients, but what the supplies will be. The first thing that I got was this floral foam wreath, and this is a 9.8 inch diameter. I believe it says right there. This is from the Dollar Tree now, not from the Dollar General or Family Dollar or whatever other dollar stores there is. Now there may be something like this there, but this is specifically from the Dollar Tree. Now you can get things like this like at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, but it's only $1 at the Dollar Tree. So that's what I got there. I had also shown in my haul that I had gotten this fish net, and this is a 6 foot, I don't know if you can see that, 6 foot by 8 foot size. And I thought, well, this would make a nice runner on the table if I wanted to set a beach theme setting. But I thought, well, what if I just cut off a little bit and use a little bit of my wreath? So I'm going to see if I can do that. So that's what I have here. I'm going to try and use that. That was $1. I also got some reindeer moss. I figured, you know, there's seaweed on the beach, and this reindeer moss could sort of kind of mimic that. And again, $1. I got a bag of shells here. Now I got this bag of shells, I believe it was last summer, but I know that I got it at the Dollar Tree because last summer I was going through this whole fairy garden kind of a thing, and I never did really complete something so that then I could do a video. And I guess the whole idea of that kind of phased away. I don't know, maybe it'll come back and I'll do that. But anyway, I ended up buying these little shells back then when I was buying all kinds of stuff to do fairy gardens. And so this is what it has inside, just an assortment of shells. This is also from the Dollar Tree, and it was $1. I wanted some ribbon, and first I wanted some natural kind of, what is this called, burlap ribbon. And the first few trips that I made to the Dollar Tree, I only found this green, and I think like a hot pink and some other color I don't recall, but I only found this one, and I went ahead and I got it. And I think this will make a nice little bow. It's wire, you know, on the edges, and this is a 3 yards, which is 9 feet of ribbon, which is perfect to do a bow. 3 yards, $1. You can't beat that. But then I went again, and then I found myself some burlap ribbon, and this is exactly what I was looking for. Some burlap ribbon, and they had 3 rolls, so I went ahead and got all 3 rolls, and I'm going to use all 3 rolls for my wreath. And this is also 3 yards each, so altogether I have 9 yards of that. Okay, something that I had also in my stuff that I buy and that I collect and I have aside, and I don't recall where I got this, and I may not use them, or I may use them, are these little birds. And it was a pack of 2. I just opened the packet. As a matter of fact, the the plastic on the packaging was kind of discolored and brownish from how old it is. But the little birds are still nice. They were inside. They were well protected. But this is what they are. And I don't recall where I got them. But you can find little birds like these at the Dollar Tree. So perhaps maybe I did get them there. But they do have some like this, whether it's 2 or just maybe just 1 in the packet. I don't know, but I know that they do have little birds or they have little butterflies. Now I may use these in the wreath. I'm not sure. I may. Okay, now let me tell you about my tools, because that's basically all the supplies that I'm gonna attempt to use to do my little wreath. The supplies that I'm gonna need are gonna be my scissors to cut my ribbon. I'm going to need some floral wiring, and this is a 24 gauge. It's a green floral wire. Put it in the light there like that. And there's very little left on this paddle, but it has a lot more than this. This is because I've been using it a lot, so that's all that's left on this particular paddle. And then I've got my wire cutters. You can use smaller ones. You have to be huge ones like this. And oops, try not to drop them and hurt yourself. I don't know why I have this here, but I don't need that. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to use is going to be these greening pins. Some people call them U pins, some people call them S pins, but they're these. That's how they're shaped up on the top. This is to poke into the styrofoam and to poke in the ribbon, and I'm going to explain that. If you don't have these, or if you can't find them in the floral department, like say Hobby Lobby or Michael's, or maybe even Walmart, you can't find them, you can just use these straight pins with the little balls on the end, like that. Just a straight pin, okay? So what we want to make sure is that these are going to go inserted into here. So we want to make sure that they're not so long that they're going to stick out to the other side. So you're going to check that. I'm going to do the same with these greening pins. Now I've already used these greening pins on this, and I believe they do stick out the bottom. And here you can see that they're sticking out right there. So I'm going to have to be doing some trimming. But I've got so many of these that I'm going to go ahead and use that instead of my pins, because I use these for when I'm sewing and I don't want to use those up. Now you can just go buy yourself just a little package just for this particular, or you can also find some that are called sequence pins. They're little tiny ones, and I believe I have one in here. Little tiny little pins like that. These are to pin in like sequins and such, little beads into decorative items like Christmas ornaments and such, but we're not going to use those. I'm going to use my greening pins, and I'm going to trim them about 1 inch off, or 3/4 of an inch off. Now you may find these online as greening pins. You may find them as, if you're going to order them online, in case you don't go to the stores to get them. Greening pins is what they're called if you look for them at Michael's. I'm not sure about whether it would be called at Hobby Lobby, but I'm assuming they're the same name, a greening pin. Like I said, U pin or S pin, okay? Let's put that aside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm going to cut it into little squares. And I'm going to go ahead and move the camera down to the table so you can see what I'm doing rather than see me just talking. And I'll be back. All right, well, I was going to start off by cutting off this ribbon, which is where I left off, saying that I was going to start cutting this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and check this out and see if I can cut it to a piece where I can kind of put it across here somehow and create a look in the center of my wreath there with the fishnet. So I'm going to pull that out, and sorry about all that little noise from the plastic. Let's figure out where the end is here. Well, it was tucked in. Okay, so I see what it is now. Okay. Now this is, I think I said 6 foot by 8 foot, but you know what? This can't possibly be 6 foot by 8 foot, can it? Well, maybe it can. Yeah, I guess if you open it up wide enough, it's 6 feet and 8 feet in length. Okay. I was thinking, well, maybe they meant 6 inches. Okay, so I'm going to put this across here so I can see where in the world are the actual edges of it that I'm going to sacrifice. So I want it to go across like that. Yeah, okay. Let's do that. So I've got the ends here. And I'm going to take these greening pins, and remember I said I was going to trim them, so that's why I also need my wire cutters. Now I've also got my glue gun right here, and I've got some glue sticks. So I want to make sure I have that ready. And let's just grab it and pin over it so that it holds down that little bit like that. And then I'll do another one over here. Just gotta stretch it out a little bit. Gotta trim these. Make sure when you're trimming these that you know where these things are flying off to. These little bits. Okay. Let me grab it from over this end now and stretch it. I almost grabbed my scissors. Cut. Action. All right, so then I've gone ahead and I've already pinned it down on these other ends, and one last bit here so that I've stretched it across like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and trim off from here and around this way. So I'm going to trim that off. And so I've got that. And I can save the rest of this for my runner because I didn't use but maybe a few inches. And it was 8 foot long. I think I need another bit over here to hold this part. One more pin. There we go. There we go. Just like that. Okay, so then the next thing I want to do now that I've got it all pinned, I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to take my burlap ribbon and cut little squares like so, and I'm going to cut off a whole bunch of them off the first roll. I have 3 rolls, but I don't know if I'm going to use all 3, so I don't want to cut it all up and then have all these extra little squares running around everywhere. So I'm going to trim off a bunch of these, also these greening pins. I'm going to trim a bunch of them off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the little squares, and either with the greening pin, or if you have the straight pins like I showed you, you're just going to poke them in, and you're going to continue doing this and filling it all the way around on the sides and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and get going on that, start trimming a whole bunch of the little U-pins and cutting these, and I'll be back. Alright, so I've already trimmed a whole bunch of these little U-pins, and I am now cutting the little squares off the first ribbon, off the first 3 yards. And if you're wondering how wide I'm cutting them, so I'm trying to make them square, and these are about, let's see, let me see how wide it is. It is 3 inches wide, so then of course I want to go up about 3 inches so that I can get them kind of a square. I'm not measuring them, so I'm just kind of eyeballing them, so that's okay. And the reason that I'm not really worried too much about making them exact is that this frays a lot, so a lot of these little bits come out off the ends, so you're going to have a lot of fray. Now if you don't want that fraying, then use a regular type of ribbon, and an inexpensive ribbon, or like this other one that I had over here, because it was the same price, and it's got a wired edge, so it's not going to fray. It's going to stay in place. Or you can use some fabric and cut up little fabric squares out of some fabric that you like, you like the colors on it. Maybe something that has some shells already printed on it, or maybe something that looks like water or beach themed, or whatever you find. Okay, I have a little bit more that I can cut off from, but I'm going to go ahead and put that aside and start doing this. So I've already placed one in there. So basically what it was is just taking this, putting it right in the middle like so, and then I'm just going to go over to the side a little bit and pin that one, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to put it on this side, and I'm just going to keep filling it in, and you want to keep filling it in right next to each other, okay? So that way they kind of fold upward as you do that. So you want to crowd them. And just keep doing that. On the inside edge. On the outside edge. And one in the middle. So you want to alternate them. Alright, so I'm almost at the end where I've used up one roll of ribbon. And if you're wondering how many little squares I got out of 3 yards, how many of these 3 by 3 squares I got out of this yard, 3 yards, I got approximately 35. I kind of roughly counted them, and I've been putting them on here kind of tight. So I've got a couple more to do. I've got to cut a couple more of these little pins. This is the part that's taking me a while, is cutting these U-pins to size. So if you don't want to have to go through that trouble, get yourself just some straight pins like the ones that I showed you. They're not expensive. Maybe you spend $2 or $3 on a package, you know, save, comes with 500 or so count in there. Just grab that. Don't get the ones with the little heads on them. Make sure you get something that has a big head if you're going to be using something like this burlap, because it does have these little square holes in them, and you don't want it to be that easy just to pull through. So make sure you get a big head, or if you can find something this big, use that. Now if you're not using a burlap like this and you're using something tighter like this, then of course a pin is awesome. It won't go through, or any other fabric or so forth. It's going to be a great thing to use these. But if you're going to use something like this, which is what I'm using, then you're going to want something like the greening pins, which is why I'm using them, because I don't want this to go through. So here we go. Last bit from that roll. And here's my wreath. And as you can see, it's done about 1/4. Okay, so you're probably thinking the same thing that I'm thinking is, how is it that 3 of these rolls are going to cover the whole thing? Now, remember I did mention that I have this other ribbon, and this is going to be making a bow, and this is going to take up some space on this wreath. It's going to cover that, so I don't need these on that space for the ribbon, because I don't need a bulk to be added on top. So I'm going to leave an area blank where I'm going to make the bow, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of this. So what I'm going to do next, before I start cutting these up, is I'm going to make my bow with this ribbon that I'm going to put on my wreath. So let's get to that. And I've got my wire right here, and I'm going to cut myself about 6 inches of wire. Okay, so I'm going to pull out my ribbon, and I'm going to look at this. And I want it to have a little tail, so I'm going to take this is about 6 or 7 inches, maybe 8 inches of a little bit of a tail, and I'm going to pinch it right there. So then I'm going to make my first loop, and my first loop is going to be about 3 inches going up, and then 3 inches. So you need about 6 inches of ribbon to make the loop, and then you're just going to pinch it. And then what you do is you twist it. Okay? So then on the other side, you're going to do the same thing, and you can bring them together and see that they're the same size. And then pinch it right there, and then make another loop and make it the same size as the one on that side. Pinch it, grab it, make another loop now on the other side, and they're the same size. So I'm going to pinch, and you're just going to add as many loops as you want. And I'm going to go a little bit bigger on this third one, twist it. Again, I'm going to go a little bit bigger on this third one. Make sure you do that little twist. The fourth one, I'm going to make it the same as that third one. Same on the other side. The third larger one, the same on this side. And that leaves me with this little bit still. Not enough to make another loop. So that's enough right there. So I've actually got 2 short loops 5 longer ones, 2 short loops and 5 longer ones here. So I've actually got 5 loops and 5 loops, so that's 10. And then I'm just going to twist the bow so that the wire tightens towards the bow, not towards the ends. Okay. If you didn't understand that, leave a little comment below if you want me to do a tutorial just on making bows. Now, because it's wire edge, I can put these. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist them. And that's why I twisted them in here, because I wanted them to be nice and tight in there. And then I would be able to twist them. Maybe let's get this one on this side. This side. And I'm just poofing my bow is basically what I'm doing. I'm just poofing. So there you go. I've got a pretty little bow. And I'm going to take these tail ends here. I'm going to do is fold them in half from the edges up to the middle, cut, so that I get this little cut like a little snake tongue is what I call it, but you can call it whatever you want. Alright, I was already putting my bow on my wreath when I realized that my camera had completely stopped. So now what I've done is I'm going to take my bow and I'm going to take a U-pin which I've trimmed and just tuck it in on the wire that's wrapped around the ribbon in the back of it. And then I can just place it on my wreath so that it kind of centers my bow. And I've been moving my bow a lot, so it's kind of crushed. I'm going to worry about, I'm not going to worry about that, but rather I'm going to worry about poofing it later. I'm going to make sure that this U-pin is actually grabbing into the wreath. Okay, so now it's kind of wobbly and kind of all over the place, and I don't want that. So I'm going to take a pin and take one of the longer loops here on the back, and then I'm going to take a U-pin and hold it on down like so, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just put the U-pin in there to hold that down, and now I can fix my bow again that I crushed so madly. Just puff it up, make it look pretty again. Sorry about my camera angle, I'll fix that up. Just puff up your little loops again so you can see them. And there you can see that the ribbon is now on the wreath. So now all I have to worry about is this space and this space. And now we know that one roll of ribbon covers about 1/4. So I've got a 2/4 and a 3/4 here to fill with this burlap ribbon. So let me continue on by cutting more of these and trimming more of these U-pins. And I'll be back. Okay, here I am continuing with my second roll of ribbon. If you're not using 3 rolls of 3 yards of ribbon, which is about 3 inches wide, if you're not using that and you want to use fabric, I was trying to calculate in my head if you got a 45-inch width fabric, which is kind of like the usual that you find in the fabric stores. It's like 36, I think, 45, and I think 60 or something like that are the different widths. I'm not really sure, but kind of like the usual that you find is a 30 or 36 width and a 45. But let's say you find a 45. If you get about a 1/4 yard, you may be able to get maybe 90 squares. And these rolls are giving me about 35 squares out of each one. So that's obviously more than 90. That's about 105. So I think anywhere from a 1/4 yard to 1/2 yard of fabric. You might not use a whole 1/2 yard, but if you want to kind of guesstimate, or maybe a 1/4 yard would be 18 inches, and half a yard would be, I can't even, well, sorry. I'm sorry, I'm going to make a correction. A 1/4 yard is 9 inches of fabric, not 18. 1/2 yard would be 18 inches. So you're going to need more than 1/2 yard. So you're going to almost need a yard of fabric. So if you find some fabric that you like and it's inexpensive, you're either going to just get yourself 3/4 yards or get yourself a whole yard of fabric. So if you happen to have a yard of fabric at home that you like and you want to cut it up, you use that to cut up all these little 3x3 squares, and you're going to need about 105, maybe more, depending on how many you can actually get out of your fabric or ribbon, if you happen to have already ribbon. So that's a guesstimation. Okay, so I'm just continuing with my little squares, one in the middle, one on the side, and one on the inside edge, one on the outside edge, and then one in the middle, and so forth, like so. And I'm going to continue going, and then I'm going to cut up more of this. And once I'm getting to the end where I'm already finishing up my third roll, and I'm going to finish this up, I'll come back and then I'll show you what else I'm going to do to my wreath. So for now, we'll take a little break from this, and you'll see me finishing this up in the next screen. All right, I'm almost coming towards the end of my wreath. I've filled up more than half of the wreath with the, we're about half, no, it's more than half of the wreath with these little burlap squares. You can see it looks real nice and full and fluffy. So I've only got a little bit more, and I've still got some squares, and I've got to cut up more of these greening pins, but this is where I'm at, and I just wanted you to see. And another thing that I didn't mention is right here where I've pinned this down with the U-pin, I've also put some hot glue right in there. So you can see that, I put some hot glue, and I also did the same where I pinned down the wreath here in the middle, and on these sides here, I put some glue right underneath there, just to make sure that those greening pins don't come popping out. Now you could do the same to these if you wanted to put 2 at a time and then pin them and glue if you wanted to do that, but that's a lot of work, so you don't have to do that. Maybe at some point that you've done your wreath and you feel like, okay, well, I want to recycle this little styrofoam, and all you've done is use just a regular straight pin and some inexpensive fabric that you've cut up or inexpensive ribbon that you've cut up. Maybe you can pull them all off and add a different item onto your styrofoam wreath. Or you just want to wrap it up and save it for another season, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and cut up more of these greening pins so that I can go ahead and finish attaching these, and I'll be back. Okay, I've only got 3 little squares left and 3 little pins, and I'm almost done here. Just putting the last of them in there, and there we go. And then just cover up that spot with my ribbon, and there you go. And I could just leave it like that. It looks really pretty just like that. And you can't even see this netting in here, so I'm thinking that that might be something that you might want to just leave out, unless you can find one that's got smaller little woven squares, and maybe you can use that in there. But I think it kind of gets lost in there, so maybe you want to leave that part out. So that was 3 rolls of ribbon, actually 4 because of the green. The wreath, that's 5 items. 3 rolls. Oh, I already mentioned that. So 4 rolls, and this is $5. This was $6, but like I said, leave that out. So we're not gonna $6. Another item. So another $1 item. So just leave that out. So far I've got $5 that I've put onto my wreath. I've got my my little moss here, which I'm going to use a little bit of that, and I'm going to use some of these shells. So I got to get that open, and I'm probably going to remove them from this little bag into something else. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut through it, save some time here. Okay, let's get these out. And I've got my glue gun, because I have been using it, so it was already plugged in. Let's get these shells out and see what we got in our little assortment. Now I'm not going to use all of these. I'm just going to use a few of them. Let me put that down at the bottom, so then I can look at them. I don't want to move the camera because it keeps falling on me. So I've got this one, this one, this style, and this one here. And then of course I've got like a bigger one, but in a smaller size. So that's what I've got. So I'm going to separate them a little bit. I have this style here, and then I've got this style here. Kind of like this kind. And I think I'm going to use those. So let me push everything else out of the way. And I'm just going to place them here and there on my wreath. And I'm going to put some hot glue on the back here and on the little edge here that I know is going to touch. And I'm just going to push it down onto the wreath on the ribbon. And I'm going to place here and there, I'm going to place some more. I'm going to get a medium one and place it right next to it, a little bit on top there, like so. Just like that. Continue all the way around. Okay, so my camera's doing this crazy thing. I don't know why it's doing that now, but it decides that it wants to say time out on me and it stops on me. So, okay, I have filled them up with shells. I think I mentioned all that, where I've been putting these little ones. So now the next thing that I want to do is I want to add some of this reindeer moss because I want to mimic seaweed. So I'm just going to take a little clump, add some glue, and kind of tuck them underneath a little bit on these shells, just like that, kind of underneath there. And I'm going to go around and do it here and there. Gotta keep an eye on my camera because I gotta see when is it exactly that it decides to just kind of die down on me. Okay. I think I'm using the glue too fast. I'm not giving enough time to heat up and melt so that it pours out. And I really like this moss on here because it's adding some of that green that's on the wreath, I mean on the bow, on the bottom. It's kind of bringing that green upward. So that's nice. See, I place them here, here, and here. There we go. You can add more if you like. You don't have to add as little bit like I did. Add a little bit more. And this is great. I'll sort of fill in maybe some little ball spots where you maybe didn't get enough of this burlap or whatever little squares of fabric you decide to use. Maybe if you find some little ball spots. And I have one right here, so I'm going to tuck that right in there. I don't have one over here, but I just want to balance it out. The glue's not coming out as fast as I want it to. And I'm going to tuck some way over here because that's where I was already running out of little squares. Get in there. You can hear that squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Okay, and then see I filled in that little ball spot. And there we go. And that's it. I think that's all that I have for my wreath. I did have my little birds. I had a green one and a yellow one. I think I'm going to place this little yellow one right in there and the ribbon. Just like that. So I'm going to remove this little wire that it had on it because I don't need to insert it into anything, but rather I'm going to glue it. So let's glue it so that it lands on the little... Oh, my glue gun fell. Let's pick that up. Okay, so there we go. That is my finished wreath. I need to put something on the back. So I'm going to use another one of these U-pins, but I'm not going to insert it all the way. So the top is right about here. And I'm just going to insert it just about that much in there. And then I'm going to put some glue right where it got inserted to make sure that it stays there. And that becomes my hook. See right there? Okay, let's do this again. That becomes my hook where I'm going to hang it from on the wall. And that's going to hang like that. So I'm going to go hang it on my front door and take a picture of it for you, and we'll see how it looks. All right, here we are with my wreath on the front door. This can go in any other room inside of my house, but I decided to model it out here so you can see it in the daylight. The little edges here. And then I've just poofed off my bow so it wouldn't be so flat. And there we go, the finished product. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you'll do something similar. And I ended up spending what, about $8 at the most. Let's see, 4 ribbons and 1, 2, 3, 4 more items plus the, yeah, including the wreath. That's about $8 that I spent to make this wreath. And as you can see, you can do something under $10 for your door somewhere inside of your home or your office, or give this as a little gift to someone for under $10 if you just go shopping at the Dollar Tree like I did. I hope you enjoyed it again, and please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a nice comment down below. Please subscribe and share on your social medias, and as always, enjoy.